Welcome to Healing Body, Mind, and Soul, empowering self-care, self-healing, and self-mastery for a better world. Here's your host, Aeriol Ascher.
Hello, hello. Hey, look, it's that time again. Welcome, everyone. My name is Aeriol Ascher, and I am your host and the founder of the Healing Body, Mind, and Soul Network. Today, I have compiled a fabulous show for you. I have none other than three of the fabulous authors of the Empowered Self-Care, Healing Body, Mind, and Soul for a Better World anthology. Now, we have been working all year to put this anthology together. We have gathered, I've gathered healers and experts in the field of self-care, self-healing, self-empowerment. So we have coaches, we have chiropractors, we have everybody talking about the subject of self-care, which we think as a collective is the most important topic that's up at the moment, because we all know that old analogy, you know, when we're in the airplane, we want to put our own oxygen mask on first, and most of our attention needs to go at our own to take care of our own needs and our own survival so that we can serve the people in our community, in our family, and everybody around us. So I gathered some amazing experts for you today. I'm really, really excited about our show today because we have such a great time. I have the fabulous Linda Benn, all the way from Down Under. She's, that was my bad accent. So please, everybody excuse that right off the top of the bat. But Linda Benn is here with us today. She's one of our contributing authors of the Empowered Self-Care book. And I've known Linda for several years. Gosh, going on 5, 6, 7, somewhere around there, Linda. I am just absolutely honored, tickled that you are on board with the project and that you are one of our contributing authors. And I also have my new fast friend, Jill Ashley Hoffman. Jill and I actually met in Las Vegas, of all places, and I just had my eye on her. I thought there was something really special about Jill. I was speaking at the Girl Live conference, and Jill was also speaking, and we had tables next to each other, our display tables, and we ended up being friends. And somehow Jill let me coerce her into doing the project. So I'm so glad she's here. And then, of course, we have Michelle Marie is with us today. And Michelle, I just love what she is up to. Michelle is a therapist and into all kinds of drama therapy and all the wonderful kinds of things that I love, love, love. Of course, I was like tickled pink that she wanted to come on, and especially that she wanted to help everyone with their self-care. So I have a wonderful lineup for all of us today. So everybody's going to want to settle in, go ahead, take a seat, take a listen. And each of these fabulous authors is going to just take a short little 10-minute segment to tell you a little bit about their chapter in our upcoming book. Now, remember that our book is going to be out in February, but we just want to raise awareness and raise consciousness about the book now, because if you get on our mailing list early, you're going to be able to get a special notification and get this book for yourself for only $1 for the first 24 hours of our launch. Now, it is a great value for you. There are 25 amazing authors, 3 of which you will hear from today. So you're just really, really going to want to make sure that you have yourself set up for success and that you're ready to face 2021 with the ultimate radical self-care. Okay, I'll stop talking. I always talk so much, but I get so excited when the ladies are here with me. So today, first up is going to be the fabulous Michelle Marie. I'm going to just take Jill away and Linda away, and let's get Michelle up here, close and personal. Now, I am tickled that Michelle is here today. I love her chapter. And I also, this is like a behind the scene things, but I was working on our card quotes for our wonderful wisdom deck. And I'm going to tell you, Michelle is really good at writing the card quotes and the journal quotes. She was like on point. It was really great. And so I was just absolutely working with those, I swear to God, earlier this afternoon. And I was delighted by some of the things that you're bringing forward. So, Michelle, you know I love what you're up to. I'm going to go ahead and butt out and let you tell the audience yourself what you're up to, what your chapter is about, and why you think self-care is so very important at this time.
Yes, thank you. So in order to answer that particular question about why I feel it's so important, especially at this time, I'd like to start with a little bit of a story. So when I was 37 years old, I looked in the mirror and I did not recognize the woman who was looking back at me. I remember looking like the lifeblood had literally been drained from my body. The woman looking back at me seemed really tired and uninspired and almost empty. And like many women, I had completely lost myself in a relationship that did not serve the best parts of me. I had focused all of my natural caretaking tendencies solely on others, and I had forgotten to turn them toward myself. And my nervous system was on overload. I had learned to equate self-care with being selfish, and I had forgotten who I was, what I was here for, and I was just putting one foot in front of the other. I always knew that I was meant to do big things. I knew since I was a small child that I had a mission deep in my bones that I wanted to live out. But somewhere along the way, I lost this deep sense of inner knowing. So after my divorce, I spent 3 years rediscovering myself. I went to therapy, I participated in women's circles, I even played roller derby. Welcome Irish whipski. I literally did roller derby at the age of 27 or 37, sorry. And I really was just searching for anything that I could find to bring myself back into my body, to remember what a pleasurable life could actually feel like. And the color came back into my cheeks and the color came back into my life. And I spent a lot of time working on my past trauma. I held sacred space for others and became a trauma specialist. And I learned a lot of tips and tricks and tools over the years to protect my own energy, to make sure that I wasn't taking my clients and their problems home with me in my head, to do the consistent inner work, the deep work that helps me hold impeccable and clean space for my clients, and the rituals that I needed to transition from work back into my home and personal life. And I really thought I had it down pat. I even met the man of my dreams, and this man literally loves the fact that I practice self-care, because he knows when I come back from that, I'm going to be refreshed and rejuvenated, energized and connected. So when I was asked to write a chapter on self-care for this book, I thought, why not? I mean, I literally talk about this all day long. As a therapist and transformational coach, self-care practices are the foundation that is necessary for us not only to survive, but to thrive. And it's extremely important for those of us who are service providers because we're so used to giving so much of ourselves in what we do. So I was excited to share this process that I often lead clients through to identify self-care deficits, to identify their strengths, to ask effective questions, to find out what pulls them off their self-care wagon. And ironically, literally just before I started writing my chapter on self-care, on a vacation with my husband, I had the biggest panic attack I've had in my entire life. I did not realize how far off my own self-care path I had actually gone until my body reminded me. And it's kind of embarrassing because I'm literally an expert in this. I talk about it all day long, and I had a lot of self-judgment about my experience of having a panic attack. And I was very proud of myself for so many years for practicing consistent self-care, since I never even knew what that looked like in my 20s and early 30s. And at the same time, I believe that the universe puts in our path reminders and lessons to recalibrate us and remind us what we are really here for. So, like I said before, I've learned over the years a lot of skills. I use them regularly. I am the kind of person who practices what I preach. But there has been one area that has consistently eluded me, and that is consistent embodiment and consistent body self-love and self-care. My spirituality is on point. I practice emotional regulation skills. I practice mental skills. I'm aware that I'm most alive when I'm connected to my body. And yet my body is the first thing that I leave behind when stress hits. So I believe that I was put here to go through my own journey of disembodiment to embodiment and back again, so that I can support other leaders and service providers to increase their capacity to hold deep presence, reverence, and authentic expression. And I love working with women to learn how to fill up their self-care fountains to overflowing so that they are serving from a place and a feeling of abundance. You know, self-care is not always bubble baths and spa days. Sometimes self-care is taking care of business. Sometimes self-care is saying no. Sometimes it's setting boundaries. Sometimes it's acknowledging that I'm terrified and doing it anyway. We teach what we seek to master. I seek to master embodied self-care. I adore working with other service providers who also feel they have a strong mission deep in their bones, who sometimes get stuck in overgiving and slip into forgetting their own needs, who may have a trauma history and coping strategies that pop in that no longer serve them despite all of the healing work that they've done on themselves, who have all of the tools that they need at their disposal, and yet sometimes they don't access them, and they need that support to remind themselves of what they already know, especially when stress is high. So if you hold healing space for others, and you find that there are times where you recognize you're slacking on your self-care, things like overeating or forgetting to eat, doing things to numb out after a long day, binge watching shows on Netflix instead of that exercise program that you bought, or reading that book you've been wanting to read, being more emotional than usual, perhaps irritable or resentful at all of the space that you're holding and all that you're giving to others, difficulty setting boundaries, and saying yes when you don't really want to, rather than standing up for your own needs, challenges asking for what you want or need, and just doing things for yourself, doing it yourself because it's easier. So I don't know about you, but with natural disasters and political discord and COVID-19, it's a little bit difficult sometimes to recognize when we're off balance, because I kind of always feel off balance at this point in our society. So I want to help people begin to build a self-care plan that is full of practices that are unique to you, pleasurable, and effective, to know which questions to ask yourself to determine where you might be blocked or in resistance or reducing your effectiveness in implementing your self-care plan. And I want to help people learn how to identify what's getting in the way of actually enjoying their self-care practices to the fullest. So I want to invite you to read my chapter, Practicing Embodied Self-Care, because in this chapter, you will discover the 4 realms of self-care that create a balanced self-care practice, the 6 keys to effective self-care, which help you create consistent motivation and assess your effectiveness in each of those 4 realms, You'll learn about some specific challenges that those who've experienced trauma may face when it comes to practicing self-care. And you will learn the importance of embodiment as the bridge between the power of the mind and the wisdom of the body. The Dalai Lama said that the Western woman will save the world. And in order for us to do that, to have the capacity to lead in the way that we are now being called to lead, we must become masters of self-care. That is why I chose to write a chapter on self-care. I believe in women. I know we need to support ourselves because we have so much to give and to serve others with, and we need a full self-care fountain in order to do so. Thank you so much.
That a girl. I love it. So good. So good. And let me tell you, being the compiler of the book, I happen to know this chapter is super juicy. But that's just me. Let's bring some of the other ladies on and see what they thought of your talk. Let's turn it over. Hey, Jill, what did you think?
Oh my God. I was like so captivated by your story, Michelle. Oh my goodness. I loved it. I love the way you explained your journey, and your passion just came through so well in your talk. So thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Love it, love it, love it. Of course, they all love each other because we're all talking about the same things. You should see us on our monthly calls. How about you, Linda Benn? What did you think of Michelle's talk?
I loved it, Michelle, and I could so relate to your story. And even as a therapist, you know, when we've learned all these tools and techniques and healing skills over the years, and how it's about embodying, and because we're constantly being tested, and then, you know, and regardless, well, looking at our background, you know, if it is trauma or anything that's coming up, you know, in our external world, and how we can be triggered, and how important it is to constantly check in with yourself on where you are, you know, with your self-care and bringing back that balance. So I loved it. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. So beautiful to be in alignment with, yeah. So, thank you.
I know. You ladies are loving on each other. And Michelle, don't worry. There's people out here in Facebook who are also loving on you. They loved it, loved it, loved it. You're getting some hearts and everything. So I just wanted you to know that our listeners are out there and they absolutely loved your talk. So you're going to want to lean in and get the book, listen to, read Michelle's chapter because it's wonderful. Read the whole book because we're all wonderful. And don't forget to get on our mailing list because you can get that pre-launch price of just $1 if you act during that 24-hour period. All right. Thanks so much, Michelle. We loved it. Okay, next on our fanfare, we have none other than the fabulous Jill Ashley Hoffman. Now, Jill lives in New York. I live in Silicon Valley, California, and we met in Las Vegas. And apparently, things in Las Vegas stick. They don't just stay in Las Vegas, because I'm pleased to have been working with her since we met there. And I'm absolutely tickled. She's really so visible. She's really committed to her work and really being visible and outspoken and serving her clients on so many levels. I'm so proud. Sorry about that. I just had to beam a little bit at you, Jill, because you know I love you so much. Anyway, I'm going to let you tell our audience a little bit about your chapter and why you think self-care is important at this time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Jill Ashley Hoffman, and I am so excited to be here and to talk to you about my version of self-care. I am a transformational coach. I'm also a holistic health coach, but really I love holding space for women to heal their relationship with their bodies. And so when I first met Aeriol, or when I first found out that Aeriol was doing this book, and she shared the mission of this book, and she shared with us that the mission is to raise the consciousness of humanity and to heal the planet. And I just was like, yep, that's me. That's what I'm here to do. I just knew instantly that I had to be a part of this project because our missions were so aligned. So with self-care, I mean, self-care is so important. It's always been a huge topic, but I think now more than ever, it is necessary, it is essential to have core self-care practices in order to thrive in our society. I often wonder how people go and move about this world without having, self-care that they truly feel good about. And so I also feel like that we can start to expand our definition of self-care. I think that we can deepen our definition of self-care. I think that it's not just about, getting manicures and pedicures and massages, although those are all beautiful things. I think it's really about really engaging in how do we learn to truly love and prioritize ourselves on a deep level. And when we do that, everybody can feel it, right? You feel it. You are able to fill yourself up, to fill your cup first, and it affects everybody around you. And so we have to really get serious about self-care now more than ever, with everything that's going on in the world. And that's why I'm so excited to be a part of this, group of trailblazers of self-care. So the work that I do with my clients is very holistic. I work with clients using tools like food therapy and inner child work to help them heal their blocks. But one of the things that I'm so passionate about and that I really want to talk about today is embodiment and sensuality. And really, embodiment and sensuality is really just about being in your body, right? And it's the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because I find it to be one of the most powerful ways to heal our relationship to our bodies, because it helps us to create safety in our bodies. And so what do I mean by sensuality, right? What are we talking about here? Sensuality, I define sensuality as just being able to enjoy your body through your physical senses. And so we're all gifted with these beautiful physical senses. We all have the ability to see and hear and smell and taste and touch and feel. And this is what this is the gift of being in embodied form. This is the gift of being human, that we get to experience life through our senses. And when we're born, babies, when we're born, we love being in our bodies. We love our bodies. We love exploring the world using our senses, right? So just imagine for a moment that you're watching a beautiful sunset, or you're listening to a magnificent symphony, or you're smelling fresh cut flowers, or maybe you're feeling the soft grass underneath your feet, right? So even just connecting with that in your mind, you can start to feel into your body and start to bring yourself back into your body. And I think this is so, so important, because often for many of us, what happens is that at an early age, we get disconnected from our bodies. Oftentimes something happens, whether it's a trauma, whether it's just cultural conditioning, that we are taught not to feel safe in our bodies. And we start to live from our minds only. And we start to move through life just kind of, going through the motions and not really feeling, not really experiencing life on a sensual level. And I believe this has really negative impacts on our health, on our well-being. It could show up as physical health issues. It can show up as anxiety, depression, and even just feeling like this very blah sort of dissatisfaction of life. And so my chapter that I wrote is called Embody Your Sensual Self. Embody Your Sensual Self. And I share my story about how at an early age, I struggled with a lot of low self-esteem. I experienced early childhood trauma. And it turned into low self-esteem, which turned into an eating disorder. And eventually, in my early 30s, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism and adrenal fatigue. And I had a lot of symptoms. I experienced a lot of digestive issues, hormonal imbalances, fatigue, extreme weight gain, all of the things, right? And I went to the doctor, and I wasn't given much support. And I thought to myself, okay, all I'm given here is a pill. And I know that there's some way that I know I can heal myself. I know I can figure this out. So I decided to go back to school and to learn how to heal myself. I decided to become a health coach. And that started me on this amazing journey. And I started really working on my self-care, really learning what self-care was, starting taking on practices and doing, all the things on the outside. But what I realized, even though my body was starting to heal a little bit, at some point I hit sort of a plateau. I hit a standstill. And I realized that something was missing. Even though I was doing all the things right on the outside, I was eating the right foods, I was even meditating, I was doing all these things, I realized that on the inside, I was still at war with my body. I still had a lot of judgment and basically hatred towards my body. And it took a lot of deep work to get there, to realize how disconnected I was to my body, was with my body. And so I realized that this was the piece that was missing. And I started to learn about embodiment, and I started to learn about sensuality and how to bring my attention back into my body, because I didn't feel safe in my body. I didn't trust my body, and my body didn't trust me either. And so all of these symptoms that were happening were just, they weren't things that were wrong about me. They were actually ways that my body was trying to bring me back home, was trying to bring me back into my body so that I could heal. But I didn't know that at first. I was just judging myself. I was telling myself there was something wrong with me. I was trying to fix my body instead of heal my body. And so when I realized I was at war, at war with myself, I thought to myself, well, you can't heal when you're at war with yourself. It doesn't even make sense. So I discovered sensuality, and I discovered embodiment, and I came home to my body. So how do you know? How do you know if you're disconnected to your body, or how do you know if you're at war with your body? Well, maybe you're experiencing, like me, chronic health issues that you've been working on and you haven't been able to heal. Or maybe you're, you ask yourself and tune into how do I feel about my body? What's my conversation? Notice your habits. Notice what you're doing every single day that maybe isn't supporting yourself, right? Maybe you know that there are things that you do that don't support you. On a deep level, all of us have this innate wisdom within us that wants to be healed and wants to be whole again. And so we crave this connection within ourselves. But if we don't know how to do that, if we're scared, we'll often go to other, I call vices or addictions, things that we try to do to fill ourselves up, to fill that hole where we're feeling dissatisfied. And it might look like overeating or overworking or watching Netflix all the time or drinking, whatever it is, And we'll do that to either numb ourselves and disconnect us even more, or as an attempt to try and feel, to try and have some kind of feeling. But it's short-lived, right? We get that dopamine hit and then it goes away, and then we get caught up in that vicious cycle. So those are some sort of telltale signs that maybe it's time for you to step back into your body, to look at your relationship with your body and how you can use sensuality to heal yourself. So in my chapter, I share how embodying your sensual self is going to help you reconnect with your body. It's going to help you boost your immune system. It's going to help you turn on the relaxation response in your body. And that's so key, because that's letting your body know that it's safe to heal and that you can turn on those natural healing abilities within your body. It's going to help you increase your body confidence and your self-esteem. It's going to help increase your intuition, your inner knowing, the parts of you that know the truth of who you are. And it's going to help you align yourself with your purpose. And really, you're just going to feel happier because you're going to be connecting with that part of you that is alive, because you're going to be experiencing the world on a much deeper level. So in my chapter, I share a few different practices. And one of them I'll just mention really quickly is deep belly breathing, and how just by connecting to our breath in any given moment, we can come back to our body. And I love these practices because they're so simple. I don't think that self-care should be complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very simple, but it should feel good. That's kind of the prerequisite. So just take a moment, if you'd like, bring your hands to your belly and just take a deep inhale with me through your nose and holding it at the top. And when you're ready, just letting it go slowly through your mouth. And just notice, by taking one deep breath, that you can bring yourself back home. So my highest hope for the readers of our book, of our Empowered Self-Care book, is that you give yourself permission to slow down and to really love yourself, to really love your body, to really see your body and feel your body on a really deep level. And also to remember that feeling good is good for you. So that when you feel good, you're doing something good for yourself. And if you're doing something good for yourself, you're doing something good for the world. So of course, I'm going to be inviting all of you to check out our book, and when it goes live, when it launches in February, because we have so many amazing authors in here, as you know, if you've been watching this series, and I'm just blown away by the wisdom that is going to be in this book. I can't wait to read it. So I hope you will too. Thank you so much.
Jill, you are such a precious gem. I really loved it. We're getting so many comments. They're really loving your story.
Aww.
Look at this. Look at this, Jill. I don't know if you were watching. I was trying to put them up while you were yeah, so you're getting some nice comments. And of course, Michelle agrees wholeheartedly that you can't heal when you're at war with your body. Like, duh, right? No, duh. That's great. I love that. Love that. Love that. That's just me. You know, I always love you, and I love just about everything you do. But let's bring the other ladies on here too and ask them what they thought of your talk. What did you think, Michelle?
We're having a war with the microphone right now. Yes, Jill, thank you so much. I don't think we can talk about the subject of self-care and women's bodies enough. And I love how you just started right off the bat with saying that we need to deepen our ideas of what self-care is, and also that self-care can be simple, and that it doesn't have to be some complicated thing. It literally is exactly what you described, right? Like, can I just take 5 seconds to put my hands on my body and breathe? Can I just go outside and put my feet on the earth? Can I just sip my tea and savor it every second? That sensual nature that we were born with is everything, and we're so disconnected from it in our society, especially as women, like cut off at the neck. So I'm so glad that you are specifically addressing that piece. Thank you.
Love, love, love it. And how about you, Linda? What'd you think?
Oh, Jill, I loved what you shared. And I too totally can relate with, you know, the eating disorder, the thyroid issues, the trauma, everything, and the embodiment, and how self-care is so important. This is something that I've been practicing, you know, myself to overcome my healing journey. And yeah, so loved what you're sharing, and so important. And yeah, thank you so much for everything that you're sharing. It's awesome. Thank you.
Wonderful. Now, I think that our audience is starting to get the idea why I'm always so excited and why I cannot wait for our book to come out, because these women are amazing. Of course, I'm sharing a chapter myself, but I have the special vantage point of being the compiler of the book. So I have read all of the chapters, and the authors have not read each other's chapters for the most part yet. So it's still a secret to even them, so which makes the excitement mount even more. I'm really tickled pink. Okay, last but not least, we're going to bring up our third and final speaker, the fabulous Linda Benn, being so gracious. She told me that the time difference isn't that bad today. Sometimes she shows up at ungodly hours for me. When I call a meeting, she has been known to be an angel with the time change. But I feel very drawn to be working with you, Linda, and I love everything that you're up to, and I do try to keep in touch with you and what's going on with you on the other side of the globe. It feels great to be connected with you. Linda's also a Healy enthusiast. She got me involved in my Healy device, and so we have been playing Healy and scanning each other's chakras and having all kinds of fun with that all the way across the planet. It's been interesting comparing notes and seeing how energy works regardless of where you are in time and space, right? The intention of these things work. Anyway, I will go ahead and butt out and let Linda tell you all a little bit about her chapter, about what's going on with her on that side of the world, and why she thinks self-care is so important at this time. Okay, Linda, I'm going to just give you the floor. Enjoy.
Thank you, Aeriol. So great to be connected to this wonderful community and to remain in touch, even though I've moved back to Australia. So the book chapter title for mine is Transform Your Body and Mind with the Benn Method. And the reason I wanted to be part of this book project is because self-care has just played such a pivotal expansion and healing process in my life. And I'll share more about my story. But the Benn Method stands for balance, energy, nurture, and nourish. So those four things is absolutely all about self-care. And so as a practitioner, and I call myself a holistic health coach, I've had many different titles over the years, but I've always worked very holistically, working with the mind body, and started my business 20 years ago, really focusing on that mind-body connection, because I always understood that there was an emotional connection to everything that we're feeling in our body. Though my journey actually started over 30 years ago, there you go, I've just given away my age, when I had cancer at the age of 21. And that's when I first met my spiritual teacher. And he's the one that helped me to heal my body, to understand what my purpose was, why I was here, because I was carrying so much emotional pain and trauma from my past that I didn't want to live anymore. And it was just easier to leave the planet than to deal with the pain. So creating cancer in my body was like an accepted way of leaving. So that's when my journey really started. And then when I studied many different modalities over the years and had my own business, I would have clients come to me with pain in their body and say, well, this hurts and this hurts and this hurts. And that's when I was really going deeper into more of the body work, energy work, and healing, as well as then moving more into the coaching and training, and then helping empower my clients to heal their own body. Though in 2004 is when I learned Palawa healing from my current teacher right now. And what Palawa stands for, it's a radical shift in consciousness, expanding awareness, and connecting all 12 strands of DNA. And when I learned this, that catapulted my whole spiritual growth, as well as my intuition really just went to another level. So with my clients, when working with them, I was doing more medical intuitive work and psychic surgery and channeling these profound messages for them. And that was a big aha for me when I had the realization that you can't fix the physical body with the mind that created it. So when you shift consciousness, the physical body will take care of itself. And that was like, wow, I need to be teaching this to help to shift consciousness on the planet. But we're going back, over 15 years ago. So I was so passionate about shifting consciousness. Not everyone was on the same wavelength as me, though I was teaching personal development workshops and then sharing the Palawa healing. And I actually went over to, America and traveled from the East Coast to the West Coast, teaching the Palawa healing over there. And so in this time, I decided, and also at this time, that's when I created my 5 R's. And my 5 R's is release, realign, restore, rebalance, and re-energize. And this is the foundation to the Benn method, because it's all about empowering people to heal their own body and to upgrade their conscious human operating system and change their hardware to love. And that's the essence, and everything that I teach now and coach and share with others, which is also in my chapter on going much deeper. And so, though in 2010, I moved to California. And what I noticed when I moved to California is that there was so much stress. And everyone was either in fear or worry, and it was such a fast pace. So I was living in the Bay Area, and I was, looking for who are my peeps, who are the conscious ones. And I realized then that there's many different levels of consciousness on where people are at. Some people are highly conscious, and then you've got people way down here who are experiencing mental health and illness and disease and depression or suicide or other health challenges. And so where I meet people from there all the way up, and that's the key. So when I was living in California for 7 years, I was there. I went with so much energy and resilience, but I got caught up in the energy, and I noticed that each area I lived in had a different energy vibration. And though I was working in Silicon Valley with a tech company as their wellness consultant, as well as having a private practice in Marin County and Sonoma County, and I was commuting. And then over time, I realized, and it was more towards the end, before I left, come back to Australia, it's like I noticed my energy dropping. And because it was such a fast pace, and as a woman, that my masculine and feminine energy were out of balance. And so the the stress of trying to keep that lifestyle and pushing and driving is not sustainable for anyone. But also because I was living on the road so much, commuting, I was not nurturing or nourishing my body, and living on snacks, and then having very little sleep and not being able to sleep because of the high cortisol levels. And so it was like my energy was dropping. And so when I came back to Australia, I was feeling very burnt out and went to the doctors and had all the blood tests, and they gave me all the labels, you know, like autoimmune and chronic fatigue and adrenal burnout. And it was, I didn't realize it at the time, but I consciously just cut off from source energy, which is our life force energy flowing through us. And I also cut off from my inner child. And it was like, that's it. I'm done, and I'm ready to leave. So in my recovery, in which I healed my body medication-free, much to my doctor's amazement, because he was very upset that I, you know, was non-compliant, not taking the medication. And so in this process of healing, that's when I came up with the names to the Benn method, which is the balance, energy, nurture, and nourish. And so, like Jill spoke about, it's all about self-care and, you know, and what we're doing for our body, and embodying everything that I knew, everything I'd studied, and all my holistic tools, really embodying it myself. So the key to everything I'm sharing in the chapter is giving people tools and going much deeper into each of those layers of the balance, the energy, the nurture and nourish, because we're working on the physical, the emotional, the mental, the energetic, and the spiritual. And you've got to look at all those layers and look at everything that you're doing in your life. And the Benn method is a lifestyle choice, which is something to sustain you for the rest of your life, because no one came here with the intention of suffering. And so the Benn method is an empowerment tool to heal your own body and to be free of suffering and be at peace. And so our soul came here for our own soul's growth and evolution. And it's about really coming back to our true, authentic self. So what I'd like the reader to take away is really about believing in yourself. And even if you're way down here at the low vibration, caught up in that web, and on medication, or wherever you are on that layer of levels of consciousness, is to really come back to your heart, come back to your soul, and believe that you can heal your own body. And this is all about, you are amazing, you're powerful, you're magnificent, and coming back and just really truly believing that. And that's what I want for everyone. There's a lot of different tools in my chapter, as well as a link that I share, which then goes to a lot more information. And I'm so honored to be assisting you on this journey called life. So thank you. Have a magnificent day. Thanks for sharing. Bye-bye.
Ah, there you go. Linda Benn, I knew you wouldn't let me down. That was just absolutely amazing. Of course, my dear. And of course, our Michelle is, of course, in the background. She's double duty. She's on the call with us now, and she's also commenting live. So she's getting maximum conversation value. Yes, balancing the masculine and feminine energy is where it's at, right? This is just me, of course. Let me bring the ladies on here to congratulate you, Linda, on a job well done. What did you think? Oops, let's get Jill in there. What did you think? Michelle, what did you think? Oops, let's get her mic on. There we go.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I love everything that you shared. It's funny when you started to mention your cancer journey and connecting to the mind and the body. And I remember when I was doing my clinical hypnotherapy training that had never even crossed my mind. You know what I mean? Like I'd always been so focused on emotions and all these other things. And when I started realizing you could use hypnotherapy to work with people to really understand like what their body was actually trying to tell them and to bridge that gap, it just, you know, blew my mind. And the other thing that stood out for me is you brought up something that I love playing with, which is you said you were being non-compliant with your doctor. And I truly believe that we all have this inner rebel. That the inner rebel is really like intuition. It's really the part of us that sets clear boundaries and is like, yeah, no, that doesn't work for me. And so I love the fact that you named it in that way, because it makes me think of like, I love working with that part with clients. Like, what is your inner rebel saying about this? You know, like how can you stand up against that? I just love that energy. So thank you for bringing that in. Super powerful.
Yeah, me too. I know when she was I was non-compliant. I'm all, that a girl. I love it. I love it. Love it. How about you, Jill? Would you like to chime in here?
Yeah, I just loved hearing your story. What a story, Linda. Thank you so much for sharing your story and the journey you've been on. And just, it's like, I'm so curious now to learn about the Benn method that you've created, because I'm like, God, this has got to be good. This has got to be deep. But what really stood out for me was when you talked about the shifting consciousness, right? When you talked about how, and this is reminded me of my story when I realized that my inner world was not in alignment with my outer. And it's really about consciousness and where we're experiencing our emotions and our beliefs and all that stuff. So we have to be in alignment. So I love that was a big part of your story, and that you're working with clients on that, because it's so powerful. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Linda, I recall a conversation that I had with you when you came to visit me when I still had my my Reiki Angel Intuitive Arts, and you drove down from Petaluma to come to see me in Silicon Valley, and you walked in and you're like, I gave a talk on my Pelua healing, and they looked at me like I had 12 heads, and and I'm like, I know, honey, I know. They just weren't ready for that 12th dimensional consciousness, you know? Not everybody understood. That's okay. I think consciousness is where the real work is at, Linda. Obviously, I'm a fan of your work. I'm a fan of all of these fabulous ladies. Who couldn't be? I mean, this is really value packed. This is, if you haven't gotten something out of listening to us today, then you must be asleep. And then I will congratulate you for taking good care of your self-care, because there have been so many awesome tips that the ladies have shared. They have compelling stories. You're going to really want to lean in and get this book. I think it's just going to be such a powerful tool. And each chapter is such a beautiful introduction to the 25 healers that we've gathered together to make this offering to the world. It is just... it's such an honor. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I can barely contain myself. Okay, here's what I'd love to do. I'd love to go around the room and get one last super tip from each of the ladies before we sign off. Just what can our listeners do today to up their self-care? What one super tip can you give them today so that they can start on their path and their own self-care, self-healing, self-mastery journey? Let's start with the amazing Michelle Marie. What do you have to say, my dear? What say you? If we can get our mics going here.
Yeah. So my super tip is that the worst time to think about self-care is when you're already stressed out. So thinking about self-care ahead of time and having something that you can rely on that's a no-brainer where you don't have to actually think about it has been my go-to, because I know when I'm dysregulated and upset, like the last thing I'm going to do is think about what I can do to take care of myself. So I actually created a little jar that I break up my self-care activities into categories. And I literally, like, when I just know I need some fuel, or I just know that, like, I'm already starting my day off with some vulnerabilities because I didn't get much sleep or whatever, I will literally go and just start pulling the things until I find one that's like, ooh, I could do that, because some of them aren't going to match, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the time. But if I just keep pulling, I will eventually land on one that my body responds to. And it's like, that one. So I would just recommend, like, writing down the self-care practices you already do, or finding a list of pleasurable activities online, or doing anything, and just cutting them into little slips of paper, sticking them in a jar, and being able to just literally pull and find one that works for you for that day. It's a no-brainer way to start your day.
We love it. The no-brainer way to start your day. Thank you so much, Michelle Marie. That is awesome. And how about the fabulous Linda Benn? What can you lay some wisdom on us?
So really about connecting with your heart and just listening to your heart. Get out of your head, come back to your heart space, and just breathe. Breathe into your heart, because you have all the answers within you. And that's when we connect direct to source energy, and they're with us 24/7. So whoever you believe in, whatever language you want to use, but it's like we're all connected. We are all one, and you're never alone. And so just connect with your heart, and then expand your energy out, and then we're all that's healing in itself. So you can actually feel the energy flowing through you, because you're the conduit between heaven and earth. So that's my super tip.
Fantastic. Did I tell you, or did I tell you? Okay, last but not least, let's get Jill Ashley Hoffman up here.
Well, I want to say that the early morning is the early childhood of your day. So paying attention, connecting to your body first thing in the morning, I think will radically just shift your awareness and get you into your body, getting you off to the right start for your day. So a simple practice is just when you wake up in the morning, just checking in with yourself, maybe putting one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, and just tuning in, taking a few deep breaths and just saying, good morning, how are you? And just checking in and just noticing how you're feeling. Checking in with you first, you being the first person that you connect with in the morning. That's my super tip.
And a super tip it is. Did I tell you, or did I tell you? I do not disappoint. Let me tell you, people. Okay, ladies, this is the time, so I just want to make sure that we give everybody a wave goodbye. So you're going to want to make sure that you get on our mailing list. I'm going to tell you one more time. You're going to want to make sure to get on our mailing list, subscribe to our station, subscribe below. Oops, my little ticker is going away. But you're going to want to get on that mailing list, because this fabulous book that we've created is going to be available on February 9th, 2021. And for the first 24 hours, that is going to be made available for just $1, that digital copy on Amazon for you. So I know you're going to want to get your hands on this, because just today's authors alone would be worth it. But we've got 25 amazing healers and coaches that have come together for this project. It's amazing, if I do say so myself. It's really fantastic. Okay, so I hope that everybody has gotten a super tip. I hope that you will tune in next week for yet another episode with 3 more of our fabulous authors. And I hope that everybody has gotten a nugget so that they can add something into their own self-care practice and really develop a relationship with themselves that is their primary relationship, so that they have the energy and the wherewithal to make an impact on their family, on their community, and to just be a good human. Okay, everybody, I think I've said enough for today. I am honored to be able to bring this program to you today, and I hope that everybody has enjoyed their time. So this is Aeriol Ascher from the Healing Body, Mind, and Soul Network saying happy healing.